Good evening and welcome to the NY6 ball game recap from yours truly, Jackson Johnson, and this wonderful man right next to me, Austin Williams, the creator of Sports Talk with Austin. As we go over some of the takeaways from some of the ball games that have happened and what went right and what went wrong in each of them. And I will say there's a few of them that we won't be spending too much time on, like say Eastern Michigan, because I mean we know that you don't want to hear any bit of their suffering. How you doing tonight, man?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Jackson. Looking forward to talking a little Bowl Mania and NY6. It's the last thing we've got to cover in this great college football season, which is kind of sad that the road ends here. But as they say, all good things must come to an end eventually. But hey, don't you worry. 2024 will get here quick enough, and we'll be talking about this all over again. And then we'll be talking about is LSU the next Alabama before you know it.
I was gonna say LSU. Oh man, that's gonna be fun.
But Jackson, I'm looking forward to tonight. And Jackson, I can't wait to start, especially with some of the storylines and games that we saw. And, can't wait. Without further ado, Jackson, tee us up, good buddy. Where are we starting? Let's get into
Well,
this.
we're gonna start off with December 16th, where we go over Ohio and Georgia Southern in the Myrtle Beach Bowl. What was your take on that game?
I saw a little bit of this one, Jackson, and as you see, as we kind of go throughout some of these mid-major conferences, the smaller teams, we're not going to spend too much time on, well, because we know y'all probably don't want to hear us yak about these. You want to hear us talk about the juicy ones, like Northwestern and Ohio State, and we'll get to Florida State. I'm sure that's going to be a pretty juicy one. But as for this one, real fast, congratulations to Ohio, Jackson. On a great season, especially with this bowl win over Georgia Southern and the way that they did it, fantastic. And Jackson, it also pays off their Iowa State win that a lot of people were claiming that were bad. Well, the Iowa State win now looks not as bad on Iowa State in the loss, I mean. So this is a great win for Ohio, and what a way to end the season. But congratulations, Ohio. What's your take on this game, Jackson? What do you think of those
Well,
Bobcats?
oh man, I'm loving the job that Tim Albin is doing. I mean, he's done a solid job replacing Frank Solich. And I was pretty surprised that they lost the matchup against San Diego State in week 0, but it's like you said, they were fantastic against Iowa State in week 3. And they've had such a tremendous season. It's big. And, Curtis Rourke was pretty awesome this season. I love the job that he did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% agree. And on to our next game, a little HCU action. Howard against Florida A&M. Won't spend too much time on that one, but congratulations to Florida A&M on a perfect 12-win season. This is good for the HBU schools in the Celebration Bowl. It's good for the HBU community that they got their own bowl game going forward. It's great for them. Looking forward to seeing what other teams could get in here. Jackson, do you have any takes on this?
No, because unfortunately I didn't watch much of this game, but I will give my congrats to Florida A&M on a fine victory against the University of Howard.
Mm-hmm. And now on to our next game, Jacksonville State, Louisiana, in the bad boy, in the Carriers Bowl in New Orleans, R&L Carriers Bowl. Congratulations to Jacksonville State. What a victory this was for them, especially after many thought that they got denied of their bowl by the NCAA. Congratulations on a heck of a win, and it just pays off that they're ready to go bowling. Jackson, do you have any takes on this game?
Yeah, I want to say that this was a tremendous game for Jacksonville State. I mean, this is a tremendous end to their first season in FBS football, in FBS conference in their first year in the Conference USA. I mean, I know everybody talks about Liberty and New Mexico State, but if you look back on one of my past appearances on The Voice of College Football with Mark Rogers, where we go over a little bit about these September predictions, yeah, I said then, do not be surprised if Jacksonville State is basically the next James Madison, especially with the job that Rich Rodriguez is doing over there. I mean, he has been doing such a solid job. I mean, little did anybody know in week 0 that this when watching if anybody watched them against UTEP, that this is gonna be a tremendous team. And, they've been very solid this year. I can't wait to see what 2024 brings for Jacksonville State.
100% agree, Jackson. And now on to our next bowl game, Miami of Ohio and Appalachian State. And you know what, Jackson? I regret not picking App State. They bit me in my backside again. They always do this. They always do this to me, Jackson. When I think that they can't do it or that they won't do it, what happens? They do it. Dadgummit. Curse you, App State. I should have known, Jackson. This had upset written all over it. I know you picked App State, and I'm sure you're super glad that you did, but
Yep.
my goodness. I should have went with you, Jackson. Congratulations, App State, but you got me again.
Well, the thing
Any
about
thoughts on
App
this game,
State,
Jackson?
yeah, App State, when they're an underdog, they always thrive. And, as for Miami, Ohio, they had a tremendous season with Chuck Martin in his 10th year. I mean, who'd have thought that Miami, Ohio would be winning the MAC? I mean, that was pretty big right there. Tremendous year by Miami, Ohio, and a great year by App State. And I'll tell you right now, I'd hate to be going against them next year. I would hate to be going against App State if I were anybody in college football.
100% agree. And this next one here is kind of a sad one to talk about because of what happened with Jerry Kill afterwards. But Fresno State and New Mexico State. Jackson, this was the surpriser of bowl season, in my opinion, up to this early slate of games because Fresno State had gone downhill. They looked like they were over the hill. And then all of a sudden, New Mexico State gets that fantastic win over Auburn. Jerry Kill seems to get things going and it's going right. And then this happens. Congratulations to Fresno State on a fantastic bowl win, but it's just some just didn't seem right with New Mexico State, Jackson, because as we learned, Jerry Kill did step down, and now New Mexico State will be looking for their new head coach. But for Fresno, this is a great win. I'm happy for them, but this kind of caught me by surprise, to be honest with you, because I did not see this coming at all. I picked New Mexico State, and I picked them to win comfortably. What is your take on this game, Jackson?
Well, I will say I am sad that Diego Pavia decided to leave New Mexico State afterwards, but I understood why. And I was sad to see Jerry Kill, retiring after this game. But again, I understand why he did. He did what he had to. But this has been a memorable season for New Mexico State. Because because this season was their first time that they clinched bowl eligibility in back-to-back years since 1959 and 1960. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've enjoyed the work that Jerry Kill has done at New Mexico State. And it was tremendous to see what they accomplished against Auburn in the regular season. I mean, beating them by 3 touchdowns. Good grief. That's big.
Mm-hmm. And Jackson, this next bowl, the LA Bowl hosted by Grom, UCLA and Boise State. Jackson, I'll let you start on this one first because UCLA and Chip Kelly got you. I told you, good
Mhm.
buddy. You don't ever doubt Chip Kelly when you think he's going to lose his job. He always does this. Go ahead, though, Jackson. I'm sure you'll explain more.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I didn't see this game coming, honestly. I thought Spencer Danielson and Boise State would do a little bit better in this game, but I know Boise State is a lot better than they were against Colorado State, going into this game. I mean, Ethan Garbers had a great game. 9 of 12 completed passes, 152 passing yards, and 2 touchdowns. Oh, that explains why they were winning. J. Michael Devant with 4 receptions, 142 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. My God, that's big.
Yeah, Jackson, it always seems like UCLA, just when you think that they can't do something, they do it. And Jackson, it was really the running game of the Bruins and the fact that Ethan Garbers didn't turn the ball over that got it done for them. I know you were high on Boise State, but I kind of I kind of took my gamble with UCLA and it paid off because I knew Chip Kelly had a lot to play for, and Boise State was riding on a lot of momentum, and it paid off in the end, especially for me who picked them. Unfortunately for you, Jackson, it did not pay off in our pick 'em because you went against your gut on them. But it happens. We win some, we lose some.
Well,
But
and
this
the
is a
fact is and the fact what really helped UCLA was that 21-point spree in the 3rd quarter, and then another touchdown, 28 unanswered points in the 2nd half. I gotta tell you were right. Probably should have gone with UCLA.
Yeah. It's just one of those things, Jackson. I had a gut feeling that maybe Boise State was getting too big for their britches, so to speak. That if people were hyping them up, and it was just and maybe they need to slow down just a little bit. Not yet, not yet. But I will say this next game here, Texas Tech versus Cal. Cal made a bowl game, and boy, oh boy, we know a certain somebody was probably super happy about this because Cal had a lot of hype. But 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 what happened when Cal got into a bowl? They got beat down by the Texas Tech Red Raiders, which Jackson would help Texas Tech too, was they had gotten beaten down by Texas a couple of weeks prior. So they were probably angry and mad, and they wanted to take it out on whoever they were playing in the bowl. But fantastic win by the Texas Tech Raiders. Got any thoughts on this game, Jackson?
I gotta say, Texas Tech was expected to do so much better than the Independence Bowl in the preseason. I mean, on the bright side, they did beat up on Cal, and next season in 2024, over the summer, we're gonna hear this time for sure for Texas Tech. They're gonna win the Big 12 for sure. No, they're not. Just because Texas and Oklahoma aren't in doesn't mean it's gonna get easier for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, true. And Cal, they're going to the ACC now, Jackson, so life doesn't get any easier on them. But this was a great win for Texas Tech. And like you mentioned, Jackson, this was one of those that people are probably going to be picking Texas Tech to be their dark horse NY6 team for next year if there is any NY6 bowls, maybe even pick them to be in the 12-team playoff. Who knows? But this was a great win, and Texas Tech looked good doing it. As for Cal, this was a good season for them as well. They weren't expected to make a bowl. A lot of people expected them maybe to win 2-3 games, and the fact that they went 6-6 and was able to make a bowl game, that was a successful season to them. But
Well,
as you will see,
Justin Wilcox, the head coach of California, hasn't had a winning season since 2019. where they went to the Red Box Bowl and went 8-5 that year. So my question is for 2024, is there some sort of a hot seat for him? Because I mean, I know Cal isn't all that crazy about football, but do they want to cut the cord on the Justin Wilcox era or just give it a couple more years? That's going to be my question going forward for Cal.
Yeah, that'll be something that we dig into once we get into spring and we see how Cal kind of looks going forward, and maybe we'll see at the beginning of the year when they get into ACC play. But
I
overall,
will say it feels kind of weird calling Cal an ACC team. It still feels weird. I mean, Cal NC State is an ACC conference game. And, the band is going to be all over the field for Cal Stanford as they put it on CW.
well, Jackson, the CW deserves that game. Maybe they could curse one of them because the
Oh,
CW curse is
man.
real, people. The CW curse is real. Like,
Yep.
I'll leave it
Oh,
at that. I hope Louisville never gets put on the CW again. We need to stay away from that.
oh, man. But here's a little something that's really made bowl season awesome. I mean, I know people are kind of down on bowl season because, oh, there's opt-outs. Oh, there's this. Oh, there's that. But let's not forget the famous Toastery Bowl of 2023, where Western Kentucky was making a fourth quarter comeback of the ages. I mean, how about it, man? It was, going into the fourth quarter, they're getting beat down 35-14. No chance in hell, right? It's all over. Western Kentucky's going to lose this one. Well, somebody forgot to tell the doubters that there's one more quarter of football left. Because this is what Western Kentucky was doing. Caden Beltcamp was making big plays all over the place. I mean, it was holy cow. I'm at a loss for words over this great comeback. And what really impressed me was overtime and how they did. What did you think about this game, Austin?
So, Jackson, full disclosure, I didn't watch any of this game. Be full disclosure with you. So this was one of the few bowl games I did not catch, but I saw some of the highlights, and I was very
Oh,
upset. I was very upset at first because I'd picked WKU to win, and Old Dominion was routing them, and it was like I should have went Old Dominion. That was another one I thought I blew my pick on, but
you
then
threw the
I saw the
baby out
highlights.
with the bathwater, man. You threw the baby out with the bathwater on that game. Oh, man.
Well, to be
You
fair,
don't
Jackson, we
turn off the
all
bowl game during bowl season, especially when there's nothing else on. You don't do that.
well, Jackson. To be fair, we've all done that, and after it started to run away, I was like, this ain't gonna be a good game. And I was like looking at other things and watching some college basketball, seeing what on a little Monday night and checking out watching the Monday night pregame, and it was just like holy moly. And then I saw the comeback and I was like, what did I miss? Old Dominion was winning kind of
You missed
convincingly
the
here.
comeback.
I did, Jackson. I missed the comeback. I was happy they came back because it saved my pick'em that we were doing in our group. But man, oh man, what a comeback! And it's
This
just one of the things that
oh, man.
Old Dominion's gonna be kicking themselves. Like, how did we let this go? Man, oh man. But congratulations to WKU though.
Yeah,
I
baby.
turned it off after they went down big time. So I can't speak to the rest of the game.
Oh, man. This is a clip reaction for the ages right here.
Well, Jackson, it's just bowl season does that to you. I'm sure we've all had the moments where the game gets out of hand and we just turn it off or go watch another game that's on. Well, unfortunately, missed a great comeback, but there is
Shoot,
some games that I did watch that
you
that
you
that
can't
were
you can't you can't turn off games that look like they're over. If it's like 2 minutes left, okay, but like 1 quarter left, don't be doing that. Oh man, it's like I tell you what, there is one classic game you would have loved. I don't know if you watched it in your lifetime, but it was the 2014 Bahamas Bowl. That 35-point comeback that Central Michigan was trying to make. They almost made it, but missed a 2-point conversion on the final play. But holy cow.
now, Jackson. I will have to admit though, I'll be honest with you because I know a lot of people are going to be thinking that if it starts to look like a blowout, I just turn the games off. Not all the time, but this I was like, Th- this was one. Like obviously, I saw the Patriots come back over the Falcons. I saw I saw that. That was one of the biggest comebacks in history. I didn't turn the TV off for that one. It's just when you got these smaller bowls and you got these teams that aren't as loaded with talent, you kind of once they get up big, it's kind of like okay, time to go watch something else now. And I paid for it big time. Next time I know my lesson. Never count a team out,
I'll be telling
especially.
you, man. I'll be telling you, where you're like, I'm gonna turn off this game. It's like, dude, there's 1 quarter left. When it's 2 minutes left, okay.
Well, Jackson, it can't be no worse than somebody telling us that the Vikings Colts game was over, which that's another story for another day.
Oh, oh man, that was hilarious. Like, when we told our special friend, well, I was telling our special friend, like, hey, anybody catching that Vikings Colts game? And he goes, why would anybody want to watch that game? Because I don't know. The Vikings are making one of the biggest comebacks in NFL history. Might want to check it out alongside with the bowl games. That was
Mm-hmm.
a big L right there on special friend right there. But as for UTSA, they gave a smacking to the Marshall Thundering Herd. What was going on with Marshall? It's like the CW curse got to them. After they played NC State, they blew up.
And Jackson, and you want to know what's even worse about this? Frank Harris opted out like an hour before the game even kicked off. He didn't play in this game. Like a lot
Yeah.
of people may not know that by looking at the score, but he didn't play. He opted out an hour before. And that would have I would have picked Marshall if I would have known he opted out. But as you could see, we made the right decision on that, Jackson, because UTSA, looked pretty daggum good, even without Frank Harris. Maybe there is hope for this team and Jeff Traylor after he's gone, after Frank Harris leaves. And it also helps Jackson. They scored 21 points in the second quarter, too. That never hurts either. But congratulations to UTSA. I don't know what happened to Marshall Jackson. They were doing so well. A lot of people thought they could be the sneaky surprise non-Power 5, maybe non-Power 5 sneaky, big time bowl player. Maybe they could sneak into one of the bigger bowl tie-ins. But Marshall fell apart after they played NC State on the CW.
Yeah. I mean, the CW curse doesn't just revolve around the ACC teams. It revolves around the non-ACC teams. Oh, no, they didn't put the 2023 schedule in, did they? Good grief. Oh, well, that's just how things go. But I mean,
Well,
holy cow.
yeah, it's just one of them things. The CW curse got a lot of teams this year, Jackson. But on to a game where, Jackson, no matter who you would have picked I South Florida and Syracuse. I
I
did not
figured
see this score. Oh, go ahead.
I figured South Florida would beat Syracuse. I just didn't think it'd be this bad.
Jackson, you got the Jekyll and Hyde of the ACC against South Florida, who coincidentally took Bama to the limit. Now, that was when Bama was having their troubles, and they might have been, not the weather might have had a factor in it too. So,
Oh,
but overall, Jackson, I did not have this marked up. Like if someone would have told me South Florida is going to blow out Syracuse, I would have said, "You're nuts. There's no way that's happening." Like this game's going to be a field goal win either way, maybe a touchdown. But no, South Florida, they throttled them, Jackson. I don't think there's anything else to say other than Syracuse is just happy their season's over now. Mr. Dino Babers, I know he loved his orange, but he did not leave the Orangemen in a good way.
yeah. I mean, on the bright side, maybe Fran Brown can do better than what Dino Babers did at Syracuse. But I mean, I know Fran Brown's not going to have them get beat down 45-0 by South Florida. I mean, oh my God. Oh, that's bad.
Hmm. Well, Jackson, and you talk about Jekyll and Hydes.
Ooh, yeah.
Georgia Tech, UCF. I mean,
Oh my.
Jackson, you've been saying it for weeks since we started this. UCF is the Jekyll and Hyde of the Big 12. I mean, they beat Oklahoma State 45-3, the team that
Yeah.
went to the Big 12 championship.
And they
And it's
pissed
like,
away a victory against Baylor.
like you said, Jackson, they're the Jekyll and Hyde. And then you've got Georgia Tech. One week they're playing North Carolina and they're looking really good and they win the game. And then there's other weeks they lose to Bowling Green. You can't be doing that. Now Bowling Green did make a bowl, but still Georgia Tech, you shouldn't be doing that. That's bad. Like
Yeah.
Jackson, I don't know about you, but when we did our pick 'em, I struggled picking this game. I think I picked
Yeah.
UCF. I should. I don't know about you, but this was one of the harder bowl games to pick. Congratulations to Georgia Tech and Brent Key on a fantastic season, and hopefully there's more better days ahead for you, especially now that you all got your first bowl win under your belt in a long time. But Jackson, this was one of the harder games to predict for me. I don't know about you,
Oh,
but I'm sure you
this
got
game
your
was
thoughts and
easy for
takes.
me because all I had to do was look at who is the favorite in that game, and I was going with the underdog automatically. Because I mean, oh, Central Florida's favorite. I'm going Georgia Tech. I mean, I'm loving what Brent Key is doing over at Georgia Tech. I mean, shout out to Candace Cooper, the co-host of Locked On ACC, who came on the Jacksonian over in the summer of 2023 when she said Georgia Tech would be the surprise team of the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, props to her for definitely calling that out. Now, Jackson, would you say they were the surprise team? I mean, a lot of people are giving that to us. Some people are giving it to Georgia Tech. Some have said we're surprised. Some said, Florida State was
Well,
kind of
I think
surprising.
it was more expected that Louisville had a pretty good year. Some
Now,
people
Jackson,
did.
I'm not trying to take away from their moment, but Jackson, you remember there's a lot of people predicting us to go 6-6. I've seen some predictions they had us missing a bowl altogether. That's why, like, I know USA Today, they voted us as their surprising team, which shout out to USA Today for that. Congrats. But,
Huh.
like, I
For
respect
for
Candace Cooper. Oh, go
for
ahead.
once, USA Today is getting something right. Louisville being a surprise team.
But, hey, Hey, that's not a bad pick by Miss Candace Cooper. I totally understand it because Georgia Tech has been bad for the longest time, and Brink Key finally has gotten them back to where they need to be. But yeah, Jackson, that was just some of the talk when it comes to surprising teams. Like, not everybody thought we were gonna that we were surprised, but a lot of people thought we could miss the bowl, we could make one. Nobody had us winning more than 8 games, I think, when I looked at the projections at the beginning of the year, which was which was fair. First year head coach, new quarterback, new offense, got to learn it all. But speaking of nobody projecting, Duke with a 17-10 win over the Troy Trojans. And Jackson, I warned you about this game. You were adamant, good buddy, about Troy winning, and I went Duke. And that bad man Jordan Waters, I told you he was gonna get him. He was gonna get this team to victory. Jackson, is this one that you would love to have back if you had a chance to redo
Yes.
this pick?
Yes, I would love to redo some of these. Oh my god. Can I go back in time? Oh man.
Like, be honest with you, Jackson. We'll get to Northwestern in a minute, but which was more surprising to you? This win for Duke or Northwestern's win? Because Duke had lost their coach and their quarterback.
Duke
In your
winning.
opinion,
Duke
which one was
winning.
more? And the reason why I asked that, Jackson, for one reason is because Northwestern is a great story, but Northwestern had everybody playing, the coach and everything was there. Duke was basically left for dead, and they were basically like, Duke. Mike Elko and Riley Leonard said, you're a dump heap. We're leaving you. And then what happens? Jordan Waters was like, y'all may have left Duke, but I'm going to get us this victory. And what happened? He got that W. What is your take on this game, Jackson?
Well, and there was another thing that hurt Troy. John Shire left for Tulane, during this, before this game. Troy didn't have their head coach either. So that bit Troy in the rear. And, I picked Troy, counting on the fact that John Shire was going to be coaching, but I should have known better. Somebody was going to get him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Congratulations to Duke, though. I'm glad I wrote it out with the Blue Devils, Jackson. Great win. Now, this next bowl game, Arkansas State, Northern Illinois, we'll briefly touch on. You know, congratulations to Northern Illinois on a great season, especially after they upset Boston College, which we'll get to Boston College in a minute because they really, Jackson, they really screwed the
Oh
pooch with
yeah.
us. But
But I will say
go ahead, though,
Northern
Jackson.
Illinois has been the Jekyll and Hyde of the MAC, because it was like week 1 they upset Boston College. Then next week they only score 11 points against Southern Illinois and lose against them. That was a bad look right there. It was like that Boston College game went over to their heads. But then when they realized they were 1-4 going into Akron, they were thinking to themselves, "Ooh, we could miss bowl eligibility." They beat them, but then they're 4-6 going in Western Michigan. They shut them out. Then they beat Kent State, and then they win this game in the Camilla Bowl.
Good win for them, and win for them. Hopefully, nothing but awesomeness for them coming forward. Congratulations, Northern Illinois. And
For
what about
sure. For sure. And I'm wondering if Thomas Hammock, unfortunately, will be on the hot seat going into 2024. But as for Butch Jones in the Champions of Life Arkansas State Red Wolves, I wish them a lot of luck, especially in a competitive Sun Belt. They're going to need it. But as for Air Force
well,
and the
Jack?
Armed Forces Bowl, they had a tremendous game against James Madison.
Now, Jackson, this is another one that was impacted by a coaching change as well, because I know you've got some thoughts on this, but James Madison lost their coach. Coach Kurt Cinetti. He went to Indiana, and it may have played a big factor in why they lost this game. Jackson, I believe you picked James Madison. I went with Air Force. Air Force started off
Smart
really
man.
well. Yeah, and Air Force started off really well, but then they had that terrible, downfall. And I could see, Jackson, why maybe you didn't believe in them as much. But as you can tell, Air Force, took advantage of James Madison losing Kurt Cinetti. And, hopefully James Madison doesn't go too far downhill, but congrats to Air Force. And Jackson, we were talking about Air Force possibly being where Liberty got to. We're talking
Yeah.
about them playing in a major bowl New Year's Six game, but they fell apart late and it cost them a lot. But I know you got some takes on this game, good buddy. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised about Air Force getting it done, but I probably shouldn't have been because of the fact that Kurt Cincinnati left James Madison, and I was way too hard on Air Force because they had that losing streak to end the regular season. So that was a bad look right there.
Yeah, 100% agree. Congratulations, Air Force. Not much else to say on this game. I think great win for Air Force. Hopefully they can build on it. And for James Madison, hopefully that this doesn't affect them going forward. Hopefully they can remain bowl eligible with their new head coach. But on to our next game,
Well,
good buddy.
well, we'll say what helped Air Force was the 351 rushing yards that they had in this game. So I mean that was pretty much one of the things that pretty much helped Air Force win this game right here. Yep. But we go to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. And my takeaway is I wonder what it's like to have a French fry bath. But in in the little Gatorade thing. What do you think, Austin? You're muted. I mean, holy cow.
Oh, I
And
was just gonna. I was sorry about that. Didn't know I hit the mute button. But Georgia State. I know for a lot of people they surprised a lot of people, especially with the way they ended the season. I figured Clay Helton would get it together, and he did. Congratulations to them. This was another one of those I didn't watch because I don't pay attention to these much, which might be part of the reason why.
well,
These, I will be honest with you guys. Oh, go.
Sean Elliott's their coach actually. Clay Helton is at Georgia Southern.
Oh, wrong coach. Okay. Thank you. Well, good win for them. Mixed my coaches up. Sorry about that, folks. But as we move on here, we'll give a quick mention to this. Congratulations, South Alabama. Jackson, we know what time it is. They spanked them like they did something at school. They got a bad grade and they spanked them.
Yeah, they did. I mean, that was ugly right there. I mean, what was happening to Eastern Michigan was ugly. That's not a game you let your kids watch. That's just a no-no.
Mm-hmm. And Jackson, talk about the best story in all of college sports. Northwestern beating the Utah Utes and Jackson. We owe Northwestern a public apology. I am sorry, Northwestern, that I picked you all to win 2 games this year. I am so sorry. I was not familiar with your culture over there. I thought after the disastrous offseason, this was going to be rough on you guys. And David Braun, rightfully so, back that bridge truck up to his house and pay him his money. Make him the head coach.
Oh,
Take
he's
that interim
already the
tag.
head coach.
Well, Jackson, at the time, he was still the interim head coach, but I'm glad for his sake that he's the head coach now. Northwestern, congratulations on a fantastic win in the Las Vegas Bowl, 14-7 over the Utah Utes. Jackson, I'm sure Northwestern fans are looking forward to your apology as well, good buddy, and your thoughts on this game.
Well, I didn't even think they could beat UTAP in the preseason. So my bad on that, Northwestern. And I we're not the only ones who messed up on you guys. A lot of other people did. Everybody doubted you guys. So I mean, I hope you have another awesome season next year. But I will say it's gonna get tougher in the Big Ten, especially with USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington joining. I still cannot believe. I still can't believe we called Northwestern Maryland a conference game, let alone Northwestern Washington.
hmm And Jackson, one of the more confusing games, Coastal Carolina San Jose State. Grayson McCall did not play in this game, and Coastal Carolina won by 10. Like, I remember picking last year in our conference championship picking Coastal Carolina, but Grayson McCall was injured and they ended up losing. And I promised myself I wasn't going to pick them again if Grayson McCall wasn't healthy and playing. And I picked San Jose State because of that. Because Coastal Carolina has shown without Grayson McCall or when he's injured, they do not play as well. And it bit me in the rear again. And Jackson, I know you were in the Voice of College football pick'em league as well, where you can win some fantastic prizes. And I know you had put some points on this game right here, and it
Oh
bit
yeah.
you in the butt as well. What was your thoughts on that? And I'm sure you were pretty mad that they cost you some points.
Oh, I was not too happy, but I was impressed with that kid named Ethan Vasco at Coastal Carolina. He had 199 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and 50 rushing yards in that game. So, I mean, this young man was tremendous. I should have paid him some more respect, but I'm still waiting see mode on Tim Beck at Coastal Carolina. I don't think he can get the job done at Coastal Carolina. Well, he's not going to get him 10-win seasons like Jamie Chadwell did. That's for sure. And I mean, we saw the production of Grace McCall go down this season. That's why I was like, I'm not liking where this team is going.
hmm And real quick, Jackson, before we move on to the next bowl, what really hurt too is that San Jose State missed that field goal too. That would have made it only a touchdown game, and they missed it. That really is what turned the tide right there. But Jackson, talk about a team sneaking into bowl eligibility. Minnesota with their APR sneaking in, and they beat Bowling Green 30-24. And Jackson, I did not have much faith in this Minnesota offense, and they put up 30 points. And it kind of was one of those things. This would be one I would love to do over if I had an opportunity, because I did not expect Minnesota to put up 30 points. But go ahead, good buddy, on your take with this game.
Well, I mean, I figured Minnesota would pull it off against Bowling Green. Especially they wanted to show everyone, hey, we belong in the bowls. We're gonna beat them, and they did. Although they let that Iowa game go to their head, and it was unfortunate that the Wisconsin winning streak ended. But what they say, it is what it is. And hopefully Minnesota can have a better year next year. But congrats on a fine victory over Bowling Green.
Yes, congratulations, Minnesota. Even though I didn't pick you in this game, but your offense produced, even though I doubted them big time. Congrats, though. Quick mention on this one Texas State beating Rice 45-21. Congratulations, Texas State. Didn't happen to catch this game. Jackson, you got any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I would hate to be on the bad side of the Bobcats. I mean, it's just not good to be making them mad at you. And as for Mike Bloomgreen, I'm kind of wondering about him because 2022 they got in a bowl because of the APR, and then this season they lost the bowl game, got creamed by Texas State. So, I mean, we don't know what's happening with Mike Bloomgreen, but I guess we'll wait and see. But this one game that really got me excited was the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. And wouldn't you know it, Austin? This is going to be a regular season rematch next year. Kansas UNLV. Oh, man.
Yeah, Jackson. I will say, to mention this real fast, I know you want to pay your respects to Kansas. I gotta say this. I not if Jaden Daniels was healthy, I feel like they would be in a better bowl. Would you agree with me on that one, Jackson? Do you feel like if Jalen Daniels, not Jaden, Jalen Daniels was a little bit more healthier, that they could have been 9-3, 10-2, maybe playing in one of the better bowls?
Oh, hell, we would have gotten a Kansas Missouri NY6 Bowl. That's what we would have gotten.
Really? You heard it here
All
first,
right.
folks.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you look back on some of the past appearances I made on Voice College Football, and, one was where Mark was doing the AP preseason poll reaction. I called in, I was like, the pollsters are disrespecting Kansas, and they're basically showing us they don't even watch all that much of Kansas football if they're not even at least giving them a mention.
Well, and Jackson, you got to think too. I think part of it with Kansas is part of it is they're perceived as that basketball school, and Lance Leopold's finally starting to get them just a little bit more respect. But they
True.
still look at them as, oh, you're the basketball school. We don't care that you went to a bowl first time in a long time. That was a fluke. And
Well, how
and us
about
as college
go
football
ahead.
fans, Jackson, football fans, we recognize that Kansas is starting to become a football and basketball school. Did you know, Jackson, that they gave Lance Leopold, they gave him the organization, or the university, I should say, gave him money to help with the football program. They're making an effort to make sure that both of their collegiate teams do really well. And Jackson,
Oh,
there's one man, good buddy, sorry to cut you off, but there's one man he can thank for that, and that's Mr. Jason Bean. Go ahead. I know that's
well,
where you were going. Take it away, good buddy. Brag.
yeah, Jason Bean had a tremendous game where he had 19 of 28 completed passes, 449 passing yards, and 6 touchdowns. But there was one stat that was hurting them, though. They had 18 penalties in that game, and how that had not hurt them was that it was just a lot of luck, man. And as for UNLV, they had a tremendous season as well with Barry Odom in his first year. And I guarantee if Barry Odom can have another year like he has this year in 2024, he can parlay that into a Power 5 head coaching job.
Mhm. Yeah, Jackson, and real fast before we move on, those 3 picks by Jason Bean, that's very concerning. Like, I'm
Oh,
happy Kansas got the win, but they better be careful with that going forward, because most
oh,
of the time when you throw 3 interceptions, you're going to get beat by the better teams. This is a great win, don't get me wrong, but if Kansas was playing someone of like a someone of a better caliber, if they were playing like an Oklahoma State, not an Oklahoma State, like a Arizona, or a maybe USC, and they turned the ball over 3 times, they might have not won this game. But
yeah.
I'm not trying to take away from their win. Great win. And unfortunately, we have to talk about this game now.
Oh
Jackson,
God.
Jackson, please, Jackson, spare me the pain. You start us off, please.
Man, I mean, I thought Louisville was gonna get this win. I mean, no opt-outs at Louisville, but Miller Moss showed us all a thing or two, especially when he was throwing a Holiday Bowl record 6 touchdown passes. Holy cow. I mean, it was great. 23 of 33 completed passes, 372 passing yards. And, oh, man. What was going on with Louisville, Austin?
Well, Jackson, our running game was working good. You know, congratulations to USC. First off, congratulations to y'all. Y'all earned it. Y'all deserve it. Great win. Proud of y'all. You know, I will be the first to admit, as much as this hurts me, I'm not going to be a sore loser about it. It's not how to be. Well, I was raised better than that. Congratulations, USC. But Jackson, our running game, Isaac Garindo had himself a night. But Jackson, that defense we put out there on that field, that was not the defense that we played all year. I don't know if our players just got too relaxed because we had so much time off, but it definitely hurt us. Because Jackson, you go watch a lot of our games, you'll see that that's not the defense that we play. Like, if you look at how we beat Notre Dame, we were more physical with them. We were tougher than them. We outplayed them. Tonight, that night, USC outplayed us in every phase, even on defense. I mean, it was just, I want to forget this bowl game if I can help it. But, Jackson, one thing we will never forget is Oklahoma State winning the last edition of the Bedlam and parlaying that into the Big 12 championship and parlaying it into a 31-23 victory over Texas A&M, led by Mr. Ollie Gordon, the leading
Oh, yeah.
rusher in all of college football. And, we're going to pay our respects right now because we watched the broadcast of this game, and all they were talking about was Texas A&M this, Texas A&M that. And that's not fair to Oklahoma State. They had a tremendous season that they got overshadowed because A&M fired Jimbo Fisher, and that was the talk of the town. But Jackson, you know how to hype up this team better than anybody. Go for it, good buddy. Take it away.
I mean, how could anybody not watch Ollie Gordon? And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be fun watching them next season in 2024. See if they can repeat, they can possibly win the Big 12 in 2024. I mean, they're likely going to be favored, but they are going to have some competition. They are going to deal with Arizona and Utah and Kansas State and Kansas next year. So that's going to be pretty ugly.
Yes, it is, Jackson. I will say, though, Alan Bowman, he's got to cut them turnovers out, Jackson. He threw 2 picks again. Have you seen this man's numbers for this year? He got to cut that out because that's going to end up costing Oklahoma State, especially when they play the better defenses that are coming in, especially when they play Morgan Scalley and that Utah defense. That's going to come back to bite him in the butt. He better be careful and not be doing that next year. He might have been able to get away with it this year because the Big 12 wasn't as heavy on defense besides Texas and Oklahoma and maybe Kansas State. He better be careful. That's all I got to say because if he keeps doing this, it could be a wrap. But as for Texas A&M, I'm sure they're jumping for joy because Mr. Nick Saban will no longer be a pain in the butt. But I'm sure somewhere Jimbo Fisher is partying with partying on his porch deck over $75 million in a buyout.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Texas A&M, you shouldn't have put yourself in that situation. But go ahead, Jackson.
Oh yeah. I mean, you just don't do that. I mean, you don't put yourself in that kind of position. But we know, the next few years we're gonna be hearing about, oh, Texas A&M's gonna be a great SEC contender. Can they show us what they could do in other games first? Can they show us what they can do in the regular season? Obviously not.
Uh-huh. But congratulations to Oklahoma State though on a great win though. All respects to them, and we're looking forward to seeing Ollie Gordon next year as well because he will be a junior dog, as my good partner calls him. On to our next game. Virginia Tech with a 41-20 win over Jackson's Tulane Greenway. Jackson, this must have been a hard day for you, especially seeing your Tulane team go down. But we do have to admit, Michael Pratt was not there, so that kind of hindered it just a little bit. But go ahead, Jackson. What went wrong with your Tulane team?
Well, and I think also Willie Fritz leaving for Houston really hurt them as well. So I should have known this was going to happen. And I should have known that this was a different Virginia Tech team, especially different from the one that started out 1-3 in non conference play.
Mm-hmm. But congratulations though to Virginia Tech. You know their defense, Brent Pry, definitely got them going in the right direction. Looking forward to seeing what they do in the future. As for Tulane, without Michael Pratt and without Willie Fritz, will they still be a contender in the American? And will they still be a contender for possibly the non-Power 5 spot in the 12-team playoff? We shall see. But another team that made an impressive impact in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, 30-10, West Virginia over North Carolina. Now, he must say Drake May did opt out, so that did hinder this game down just a little bit. But, Jackson, do you have anything you want to add to this great West Virginia victory?
Well, and I will say about Neil Brown, a lot of people were expecting West Virginia to fall apart in the regular season, go last place, and then Neil Brown would get fired. But he surprised everybody, especially with the run they had. And I don't know if the hot seat talks will continue going into 2024, but he cooled off his seat big time, especially with a victory over North Carolina. As for Matt Brown, we know he's returning next year, but is he going to be in a forced retirement? That's a good question. Yeah, after like 2024, during 2024, it all depends on how North Carolina does in the season. But we look at the Alamo Bowl. Oh my God, that was a great game. That was a great one. What was your
For
thought
which
process on this game? I mean, we see Arizona. I mean, there were unanswered points everywhere. Oklahoma scores basically 24 unanswered points. Then Arizona ends the game with 25 unanswered points. And, would you say this was like a dilemma for the Big 12? Because it's like Oklahoma's going to leave the Big 12, but Arizona's going to join the Big 12. So you think the Big 12 was pulling for Arizona or Oklahoma?
to be honest with you, Jackson, I don't know if they were pulling for one in particular, but I will say, Jackson, I don't want to rain on the parade. I seem like I'm doing that a lot here lately. But Jackson, when you commit 6 turnovers, you're more than likely going to lose a football game. And like, I want to give all the credit to Arizona. They played fantastic. No Fita and company played great. But Oklahoma did turn the ball over 6 different times. That kind of did aid Arizona big time. And you have to look at it is if Oklahoma didn't turn the ball over 6 times, would they have still lost by this much? You see the score, Jackson, with 6 turnovers. Without them 6, do they win this game? Possibly. We may never know.
I think they could. They could have had they not made a bunch of turnovers. And I know people are down on Oklahoma again, but Brent Venables can get the job done in Norman. I mean, he may not be Bob Stoops, he may not be Lincoln Riley, but he can get the job done in Lincoln in Oklahoma. In Norman. Sorry about that. Why did I say Lincoln? I messed up the names, didn't I?
Hmm. Well, Jackson, and this next bowl, I think, was a lot of people's favorite. The famous
Yeah.
Pop Tart Bowl. NC State, Kansas State. 28-19, Kansas State gets the victory, and they get the celebration, and they get to eat the edible Pop Tart at the end. Jackson, I heard a lot of people said this is the most fun they had watching a bowl game. What about you, good buddy? Was this the most fun you've had watching a non New Year's Six playoff game?
Oh my god, it was awesome. I mean, I know the Pop Tart mascot had quite a bit of fun with the referee. So it's like, oh man, he's like, yeah. I don't know if I'd feel good if I was that ref, but that's just me now.
But congratulations to Kansas State, and what a way for them to end their season too. Especially Chad Beebe, their offensive lineman. He was, one of those guys that have been the heart and soul of this team. We always talk about the pretty offensive stats and players, but Chad Beebe, he was a heck of a player for Kansas State. I enjoyed watching, especially when he pancaked a couple people in that Texas game. You know, but congratulations to Kansas State, and we will see now without Will Howard. Is Avery Johnson the guy that's going to lead Kansas State back to promised land? Can they win the Big 12 with him? We'll find out in 2024. Jackson, you have
Well,
any
I
other
mean,
thoughts on this thing?
well, because we look at how Chris Kleiman has an incredible ability to adjust. He proved that in the 2022 season where they were without Adrian Martinez. They replaced him with Will Howard. They won the Big 12. Then we see in this game, Will Howard's like, I'm going to go transfer portal and I'm leaving Manhattan, taking my talents elsewhere. So what does Kansas State do? They get Avery Johnson and they win this ball game. It was a great game, and I'm looking forward to see what K-State does. And I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Kleiman is a big coaching candidate for potential Big Ten openings and potential SEC openings during the 2024 or after the 2024 season.
Mm-hmm. And it's definitely something to look forward to going forward for sure. Now, Jackson, this next bowl we're going to review, I should say, good buddy. Boy, oh boy, do we owe this team a big time apology. Boston
Oh, I'm not.
College.
I don't owe
Oh, go
Boston
ahead.
College an apology. I don't owe Boston College an apology for squat. I don't.
But Jackson, we have to give them an apology, good buddy. I know you don't want to, but we kind of have to because we talked all that smack about them, how they wouldn't be competitive. We gave Northwestern one earlier. Let's give Boston College and Jeff Halfley one as well because they beat SMU, who you thought should have been in the Fiesta Bowl against Oregon. Let's be honest. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Boston
but
College.
you go down against Pittsburgh, man. You went down against Pittsburgh. You let clinching bowl eligibility go to your head after you beat Syracuse. It's just You can't be playing like that, Boston College. I know you got a winning season, but you can't be looking pitiful after you play Syracuse, and you can't be having one score games against UConn and Virginia.
Jackson, I will say this though. They beat SMU, who won the American Athletic Conference. They beat them 23-14, and they were
Yeah,
an 11-point underdog. I mean, I know everyone wants to give them flack, and we've had our fair share, but I think it's time we give them just a little bit of credit for this great win. Now, it does hurt that SMU didn't have some of their players, but that's what bowl season
Yeah.
is now, unfortunately. You can't blame opt outs because it's just the world we live in. Back in the
True.
day, there was no opt out. So if you beat the team, you beat them fully healthy in it with everybody. Nowadays, if you beat them, it kind of gets tainted. Go ahead, though, Jack.
And I will say that Boston College SMU will be a conference game next year, and we don't know when that's going to be played, but we know it will be played sometime in the 2024 season. It will be at SMU, and if Boston College beats SMU, and if they beat SMU again in the 2024 season, I will apologize to Boston College.
Well, Boston College, you got an apology out of me. Jackson's not giving his up so easy. You have to earn his respect a little more. But I will say, Jackson,
You can't be
would you
playing
agree?
like crap. You can't play like crap against Holy Cross. You can't cost yourself an upset against Florida State with penalties. You can't be having a 3-point win against Virginia and expect me to be proud of you. I mean, you look pitiful. I mean, you're not that good, unfortunately. So I mean, you're not Matt Ryan, Boston College, and I'm not going to pretend that you
Here's
are.
the thing, though. Here's the thing, though, Jackson. I'm gonna come to their defense, and this may be not a very smart move, but here's the thing, though. SMU, everyone was shouting from the rooftop. They got screwed. They got screwed. They should be the
Yeah.
one in the Fiesta, not Liberty. And look what happened, Jackson. They beat the team everyone was screaming. That should have been an NY6 team. Boston. That's why I'm saying, Jackson, you might owe them just a tad bit of an apology. Like, give them some credit. I understand they look terrible in their wins and losses, but everyone was shouting. SMU got screwed. How dare the committee not only screw Florida State, but they screw SMU too? And then Boston College is
Well,
like, eh.
I will say this is the best win for the 2023 Boston College season. But if Boston College wants me to respect, they have to do a lot better in 2024. They got to earn my respect.
And see, this is what makes bowl season so great, people. Because me and Jackson could go on for hours and hours about this one bowl game over Boston College SMU. But we need we can't we got other bowl games we need to talk about as well. And the next one coming up, the Pinstripe Bad Boy Mowers Bowl in the baseball stadium. I believe in Yankee
Yankee
Stadium, if I'm
Stadium.
correct. Then the Fenway Bowl was in Fenway Park. It's in the name. Sorry
Mhm.
about that. Get my stadiums confused. But Rutgers beats Miami 31-24. I would say I'm not shocked, but Rutgers, they kind of went under the radar, Jackson, for this past season, wouldn't you say? Because a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
didn't think that they would do very good in their conference. What's your takeaway on this game?
Miami lost another game that they shouldn't have. They should have won this game, but they didn't. They do this sort of crap all year. They won a game that they shouldn't have, which was against Texas A&M. They lost a game they shouldn't have, which was against Georgia Tech. They won against Clemson when they shouldn't have. And they almost lost to Virginia. They came up short against Louisville. 5 yards short. Oh, man. And they go down in the Pinstripe Bowl of 2023. But a
It's a
great
great
job by
win.
Greg Schiano and Rutgers.
Yes, great job by Rutgers, Jackson. Very happy and proud for them. Great win. And let's hope they can keep this going forward, especially with the new Big Ten. But as for Miami, once again, underperforming in the big time moment again. Miami, we should just expect that. And
Yeah.
yes, we got to talk about this game real quick. We'll give our quick thoughts on it. Notre Dame trounced Oregon State 40-8 in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. Congratulations to Notre Dame, but Jackson, you want to give your quick thoughts on this first?
Oh man, this game was a nightmare for Oregon State. It was a nightmare for them. Angelini had a pretty good game. 232 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 15 and 19 completed passes. My God, that young man was awesome against Oregon State. But it was just Lord
Yeah,
have mercy. This was a bad week
yeah,
for Oregon.
Jackson. Just a real quick thought before we get into our next bowl game. Just congratulations to Notre Dame, and unfortunately for Oregon State, Jackson, I have a fear that they're going to have a lot more games like that without Jonathan Smith. But the next game that we're going to talk about, boy, oh boy, Jackson, do we owe this team some of our apologies as well. Missouri defeating Ohio State in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. And Jackson, this is after we had told Missouri they were going to do no better than go 3-9. Boy, did they shut us up, didn't they, Jackson?
Mm-hmm.
Eli
They
Drew. Go ahead, Jackson. I'm sure
Yeah.
Missouri fans waiting to give us this helping of crow that we need to
Man.
take.
Eli Drinkwitz did a magnificent job this season. And I will say, you want to go at anybody, you go at me. Don't be going at this man. I talked him into making the prediction. It's like this was me. So you want to come at anybody, you come at me.
Jackson, I appreciate that, but I made the pick. I got to live with the results. And congratulations, Missouri. I'm happy you proved me wrong. And I'm happy you got such a big win over Ohio State in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. I'm sure Michigan fans were happy you beat them. But my question is, Jackson, can Missouri sustain this? Can they keep winning at this high level? Or was this maybe a Cinderella season, in your opinion?
I think it was a Cinderella season for Missouri, especially on week 3 against Kansas State in the rain with a 61-yard game-winning field goal. I mean, that was a fantastic finish in Columbia, Missouri. I mean, I know everybody talked about West Virginia, Pittsburgh, Alabama being awful against South Florida, but how nobody was talking about Kansas State, Missouri was beyond me. Good grief.
Yeah, and for Ohio State, Jackson, they brought in transfer Will Howard, so maybe that'll help their quarterback play. And, Quinshawn Junkins, which he transferred over. So Ohio State's reloading, and they should get better. Now on to the Tax Slayer Gator Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
The best game of bowl season, in my opinion, as Clemson defeats Kentucky 38-35. And Jackson, what did I tell you about Kentucky when we did our preview video? What did I tell you about them that you didn't quite believe me on until you witnessed them do this?
Oh, man. They're going to bring their A game in the bowl. Because I was thinking, like, oh, they're going to be awful like they were against Iowa last year.
And Jackson, I tried to warn you, and I tried to warn everybody. I was like, I get everyone thinks Kentucky, they play so bad in the regular season, but Mark Stoops, when it comes to bowl season, I don't care who he's playing. He always seems to find a way to either win the game or he loses the game like this. Jackson, and I know me and you had a conversation off screen about this, how whoever Kentucky's playing next year, you're going to be sure that you're not going to risk a lot of points on them, especially when
Oh yeah.
you do those points, because if Clemson would have lost, oh boy, you you might have been upset.
Oh man, I would be looking awful.
Well, Jackson, I think Kentucky proved us all wrong, though. I will say though, Jackson, is this concerning for Clemson though that that they didn't beat Kentucky by more than they should have? Is this showing that the times maybe getting to Dabo Sweeney, that him out recruiting everybody, maybe those days are kind of over? Because Clemson in the past, they would have just dominated Kentucky and it would have been over. What's your take?
Well, and I think what's really been hurting Clemson is that Dabo's not too crazy about the transfer portal. And I feel like the game is somewhat passing them by right now. But we're going to wait and see in 2024 to see if it's true or not. I mean, you don't need to win the ACC, but it definitely doesn't hurt. All you got to do is have a pretty good record. You're in the 12-team playoff. Although, a certain network owned by the mouse might have something to say about that.
Yeah, Jackson, we've talked a bit about that, and I'm sure we'll get to that game here in just a shortly bit. But
Oh, yeah.
Jackson, this was another surprising game. Memphis beating Iowa State 36-26. This was surprising. I thought Iowa State would play better than they did, but they didn't. Jackson, what is your take on this game?
Well, I mean, they say that Memphis has been wanting to join the Big 12 for God knows how long, and they showed everybody that, hey, we belong in the Big 12 too by beating up on Iowa State. And they're like, oh, unhand her damn backslide, unhand her damn backslide, unhand her damn backslide. Hey, we're getting in a rut, and we're going to beat you up, Iowa State.
I will say though, Jackson, congratulations to Memphis. I didn't pick them, but is Matt Campbell, could he be on the hot seat for 2024?
No, no,
You don't think so? Okay.
no.
Well, Jackson, some
Put
Iowa
that,
State
put that,
fans,
put that take in the trash. Put that in the dumpster and burn it, man. Burn that
Jackson,
take. Disco
well,
Inferno.
Jackson, some Iowa State fans are getting a little restless with Matt Campbell, and they're
I don't
starting to get a
care.
little.
I don't care. I don't care how restless they are. They need to think about what it was like before Matt Campbell. Hell, they need to be remembering what it was like before Paul Rhodes. That's what Iowa
Well,
State fans are. The whiny few that don't remember. They need to go back and watch old YouTube videos of Iowa State being the pitiful, pathetic team that they were in years past before Matt Campbell even showed up.
well, Jackson, and you got to remember too, we are in an era. If you're not winning, people get impatient really quick. And I think
who's
that's where a
going to go
lot
to
of
Ames, Iowa? I mean, who's going to pat their badge and go, I want to go to Ames, Iowa. Yee! Nobody. That was a gift from God. The fact that Matt Campbell even showed up to Iowa State. So, I mean, they need to just be so for those few people that are whining and crying, carrying on, need to just be grateful.
And yeah, I totally agree with you on that, Jackson. But speaking of a team that needs to show up when it's bowl season, what happened to Auburn?
I should have listened to you. Oh man, you warned me. You warned me.
Like Jackson, I'm not trying to sound like a show off, but
I know.
for whatever reason, I just get these gut feelings about teams. And I not only told you Jackson, but our good buddy Jeffrey, he picked Auburn as well. And Auburn, they just have consistency issues. Like I remember telling you, Jackson, when we did our preview video about this game, I said, well, here's the problem with Auburn. Are they going to have an Alabama hangover? Because they didn't beat Bama, and they're going to be like, oh, we didn't beat Bama. Our season's done now. And it's like we have nothing else to play for. We don't need to play for the bowl. And you, Jackson, I give you credit. You thought Hugh Freeze would have changed the culture around, and you would have been like, no, that's loser talk. We're gonna play this bowl, and we're gonna show that we're legit. And what happened? They they did what I thought they'd do. We didn't beat Bama. We're so sad. It's over. And Jackson, this was even without Tulia. He opted out of this game. Like Jackson, just give your take, because I'm sure you're frustrated at this as well, especially
Oh,
watching Auburn, and you hadn't put so much faith in them. You had to be disappointed just a little bit.
oh yeah. I'm just flabbergasted. But, on the bright side, we saw Billy Edwards have a great game against that Auburn defense. But I'm looking at what happened to Auburn afterwards. Philip Montgomery got fired. Ron Roberts left Auburn, and I know that Auburn's got some new DCs. And as of today, Cadillac Williams left the program. So Hugh Freeze is making some changes real quick. And I'm curious to see what that bolds for 2024. And I wonder how Nick Saban retiring helps them. Can they finally get that upset win in Tuscaloosa is the question.
Yeah, and just a real quick note, congratulations to Maryland and Mike Lockley, who's undefeated in his young bowl career. He may not win the big games in the Big Ten, but he'll make sure to win you his bowl game. What a
And
great
that's
win
the
for
third
them.
straight. Third straight.
hmm But Jackson, we go from happy times to, unfortunately, we got to talk about this game for a second. Georgia defeating
Yeah.
3-3, the largest victory in history, and it was in the Orange Bowl. Florida State, we won't spend too much time on this. We're not trying to be party poopers, but Florida State basically was like, we don't care, because ESPN kind of screwed us over in a way, because they wanted Alabama and Texas in over us. So everybody opted out, and it was like, Georgia's like, okay, we'll just beat you down then. Congratulations, Georgia, on a fantastic win, but I hate that it had to come this way, Jackson. You have any quick
Well,
thoughts on this game to
well,
put Florida State out?
this is the largest margin of victory in the history of bowl games. And once you know it, Georgia broke their own record where they won by 58 points last year in the national championship against TCU. And now they broke their own record by 2 points, was a 60-point win over the Florida State Seminoles.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know what else we could say on this one, Jackson. Now, let's not even look at the statistics. I don't want to put Florida State fans through that. I already feel sad as it is for them. Let's talk
Oh,
about a
they
better
suck.
game, shall we? Let's talk about the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl with
Oh,
Ole
that was
Miss
a
defeating
depressing game.
38-25. And Jackson, I got you again, good buddy. I
Mm.
got you again. You went with Penn State, and you bet against Lane Kiffin, and what happened? He's like, I decided I'll win a big game now. Go ahead though,
Yep.
Jackson.
It was like, oh man, it was like I don't even know what happened in that game. And we don't know if this is gonna be Lane Kiffin's last game as Ole Miss head coach, depending on whether he takes the Alabama job or not. Because I mean, one thing we know about Lane Kiffin, he is an egomaniac, and he wants to be the guy that replaces the guy. but we don't know for sure. But to this point about the ball game, we look at the stats on this game. Jackson Dart had a great day. 25 of 40 completed passes, 379 passing yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Caden Prescorn had 10 receptions, 136 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. And Mr. Trey Harris had 7 receptions, 134 receiving yards. Holy cow. I mean, that's amazing in of itself. And unfortunately, Drew Alar, I'm going to be honest with you, he's the Kirk Cousins of college football when it comes to a big game.
Oh, Jackson. You didn't just say that, did
I
you?
just did. I just did. I mean, he is. I mean, until he proves me otherwise, he is the Kirk Cousins of college football. The next Kirk Cousins. And I don't mean that in a nice way.
Jackson, you not only just ticked off Viking Nation, but you just ticked off Penn State Nation as well.
Oh, I don't
So,
care. I mean, be as mad as you want to be with me. Be mad. Be mad. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. And I will point it out.
but I will say though, Jackson, Quinshawn Junkins, what a great game he had for Ole Miss in his last game as a Cowboy before he becomes a Buckeye in 2024. Jackson Dart's coming back. And Jackson, kind of the same question with Missouri before we move on. Was this a Cinderella season for the Rebels, or do you think they could be legit going forward and do this every year?
That's a good question. Can they take that next step forward? We don't know, but we'll know a little more over the summer. But the path does get a little bit easier if Lane Kiffin doesn't leave for Alabama. If Lane Kiffin says, I want to stay in Mississippi, Oxford, Mississippi, then we're gonna see an ugly battle in the SEC for sure. I mean, we're already gonna see Georgia dominate it for right now, but Texas and Ole Miss will definitely have some say so on it. I mean, I forget to count out LSU. I forgot LSU and Tennessee for a moment, but Tennessee has to win against Florida in Gainesville. Then we can talk.
Mm-hmm. But
But
yeah,
James Franklin
congratulations.
lost another big game, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another big mark. But congratulations to Ole Miss on the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl victory, and hopefully wish them nothing but success in the new Big Ten. Hopefully James Franklin can beat Ohio State or Michigan here very soon. But this next game here, oh, good crisis. The CW again. Jackson, they're the bane of our existence right now. As
Oh,
Wyoming defeats
yeah.
Toledo 17-15 in the Arizona
Yeah.
Barstool Sports Bowl. Jackson, take it away, good buddy.
Well, on the bright side, in Craig Bowles' last game as head coach, he won it. I was so happy for him that they won it. It was a big victory right there. So it was a fantastic finish for the Wyoming Cowboys, man. That was a big win. I'm glad to see those guys get a great victory.
I am too as well. Congratulations to Wyoming. Great win for Craig Bowles. And, hopefully Wyoming can find a good replacement for him. But as you see, the two playoff games, we reviewed those, and you can go check those out in our archives. But and you could see Jackson's pure reaction to him. He took it like a champ, like I did, because I'm sure Michigan fans probably thought Jackson would have been a little more sadder, but he knew it was good for business. But Jackson, what was not good for business is Oregon just trouncing Liberty. You got any quick thoughts on this game?
Oh, Liberty looked pitiful. It was just pitiful. This game was violent. I mean, after Liberty scored the first 6 points of the game, Oregon scored 45 unanswered points on that one, and Bo Nix had a great day with 5 touchdowns. I mean, it was just good Lord Almighty. 363 passing yards, 28 of 35 completed passes on that day. Oh my God.
Yeah, congratulations, Oregon. Not much needs to be said with them, but oh boy, I've been excited for this all night. My my inner fandom is coming out because this man above me is probably going to have some epic clips coming up, especially Tennessee here in just a minute. But let's talk about LSU surviving Wisconsin 35-31 without Jaden Daniels and Malik Neighbors. But Jackson, the hype has already begun because I've seen on multiple sites, ESPN and even Paul Feinbaum said LSU should be the favorite out of the West this year, coming up in 2024. What do you
Yeah,
have to
but
say to that?
they can't win the big game in the postseason. That's the history of Brian Kelly. He can't get it done in the postseason. He never has and he never will. I mean,
But Jack,
I'm supposed to be impressed by the Reliance Quest Bowl. I'm supposed to be impressed by the Citrus Bowl. No. Show me what you could do in the Orange Bowl or the Sugar Bowl or the Peach Bowl or the Fiesta Bowl. Then we'll talk.
But on LSU, real quick though, I mean Jackson. As soon as this game was over, all I saw was people saying LSU's back, baby. Look at Brian Kelly. You just wait, and you just wait. If when we get a defense, Alabama and Georgia better look out. They're lucky we didn't have a defense. Bama got away this year. We're gonna get them next year. It's like, okay, LSU, calm down. We understand. You have preseason hype. Calm down. And it's like, Jackson, I get why you get so frustrated because that's all they do during the offseason, especially to Bama. They're like, we're going to get you, Bama. Watch out. We're going to get you. And it's like, you didn't get us. Now go sit down.
Show me what you can do against USC next year. Then we'll talk. Not saying I'm going to be looking at you as that next team, but I'm saying we will talk. I promise you.
Yes. Talk. And Jackson, I will say this does this prove anything to you from Wisconsin's point of view? Or is it just more of Jaden Daniels didn't play, LSU didn't have really much of a defense, so not surprising? Did it prove anything for Wisconsin? Because we know LSU, they're just going to get hyped regardless.
I think this is going to prove that I think Wisconsin can be a great team in 2024, especially when Luke Fickell gets more of his guys in the lineup. And I mean, 2023 has just been kind of a rough year for Wisconsin, but it's the first year. It's going to be rough. But they look really good. And Luke Fickell seems to be, trouble for Brian Kelly. He proved that in the 2021 Cincinnati Notre Dame matchup, and he proved it in the 2024 Reliance Quest Bowl.
Yeah, he did, Jackson. This was another great, fantastic game. You can make an argument this was the best game next to Kentucky and Clemson. But, Jackson, this next game here, let's be honest, Jackson. I don't have any words for this. I mean, we should have known Iowa was going to be this bad.
That looks like vehicular manslaughter. That's what it looks like, vehicular manslaughter.
Like, Jackson, I picked Tennessee, but I didn't think they would beat them like this. Like, Jackson, you had faith in Iowa. You thought their defense could stop them. But it looked like Tennessee was like, okay, your offense stinks. Nico Collins.
They killed that Iowa offense. I mean, of course they were going to. I mean.
And Jackson, and you know the story now. You've seen it just as much as I do. People think this is such a great win, and it's like, no, you beat Iowa. You beat a team that has no offense, Tennessee. Talk to me when you hold Bama to 0 points. Heck, not even Bama. Talk to me when you hold Ole Miss to 0 points. Okay? Somebody competent. I was not competent. I'm sorry, Iowa fans, but you're not.
Shut
Your
out
offense is
Florida. Shut out
yeah.
Florida, Tennessee. Then we'll talk.
Like I'm not trying to offend no Iowa fans, but your offense is terrible, guys. Like your defense is fantastic, but your offense is just terrible. We all know it. Like,
Oh
just
man.
don't even hide it. Like Jackson, I knew the second that Tennessee got that pick six, I'm like, this is over. Like Iowa can't even move the ball. They made Tennessee look like the '85 Bears.
That's a disgusting comparison. Like, oh god, I don't get sick.
Well, Jackson, that's what they made it look like. We should have known that. We should have known. I gave Iowa 6 points, and I believe you gave them 17. Apparently, we were too nice to them.
Oh
Apparently,
yeah.
we thought too much of them. But Jackson, you know it's not too much good, buddy. When you're feeling down after your team got blown out bowl season, or your team got a great victory, you can either go celebrate, or you could fall asleep thinking about what could have been when you watch Jackson Johnson on YouTube at 979 and watch him in his great Jacksonian episodes. Jackson, talk to him about the people that they can listen to you talk about.
Oh well, in my latest episode, I had Tyler Rowland, the host of Locked On Titans, where we gave our take on the coaching candidacy, and we talked about whether the Titans can be that worst to first team going into 2024, and we go over what kind of needs they need to get fixed for 2024. What needs to get fixed? What doesn't need to get fixed? Who is the top head coach hiring? And does Jim Harbaugh get mentioned in the coaching candidacy? Or is he too much of an egomaniac for the Titans? Stay tuned to find out. And you can also find out on Twitter whether Tyler thinks that Jim Harbaugh is good or bad for the Titans. But you can also see my announcements and some of my predictions on Instagram and Threads at Jackson Johnson 543 908. Austin, what you got going on at Sports Talk with Austin? I am loving it. And congrats to this man for getting to 200 followers on Twitter. And let's get this man to 500 subs right here on YouTube. What you got going on YouTube, buddy?
Well, you can find me here at Sports Talk with Austin 2002. You can find me on Twitter at Austin W 1980 2639. All I do on Twitter is I just go on Cowboys, talk about the Cowboys, the Nuggets, the Thunder, talk a little wrestling, I talk a little college football, try to be as unbiased as possible, but some fans are a little more crazier than I can handle, especially if Kentucky fans. And Jackson, you understand that as well as anybody. Being an Alabama fan, I'm sure LSU and Tennessee fans are always in your DMs saying how they're going to beat you all every year. It gets exhausting. But all seriousness aside, though, and on YouTube here at Sports Talk with Austin 2002, where you can find me, we just passed 31 subscribers. We're on the road to 50. Let's get me to 50 here. And while you're at it, please make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Click on them notification bells for both me and Jackson to let YouTube know we're doing a great job and that we're making it in the world of YouTube. And I hope y'all enjoy this video of our bowl reactions. And I hope y'all enjoy what we put out for you because we work really hard on it and we do our best. But until then, everybody, this has been Sports Talk with Austin.
And Jackson Johnson, wishing you all a good night and to stay safe and stay warm. It is cold out, especially in January.
Yes. Go Cards, everybody.